Hey fam, as you may know, I've recently gotten a real job because you fucking greedy little pukes wouldn't give me enough of your money. So I'm gonna slow down on content until I settle in at this job for, like a week or two, maybe. Anyway, I talked it over with Kraut and he thought it might be a good idea for me to upload this video, so here's a video from Edgy Sphinx to entertain you while I'm gone.
The Nazi guest I was referring to isn't whoever he said. I don't even know who those people are, to be honest. No, I was referring to former YouTuber Edgy Sphinx, because Kraut had mirrored some of his content in the past. That was before Kraut found out he actually was a Nazi, and they all had a bit of a falling out.
So Kraut, can you be specific in what's your beef with Spino and what everyone's beef with Spino is?
His befriending with social justice, his backstabbing of Sargon, and his moral purity. I'm honestly starting to question my own actions on YouTube. I'm starting to question going after ARU, and I'm starting to question going after Edgy because of this. Because in the end, it was just moral grandstanding. I think I sent my fucking subscribers after him. That's what I think. That I bashed his reputation and so forth, rather than taking on what he had to say. And I'm sick of the moral grandstanding to that degree, and I'm sick of seeing the moral grandstanding applied to me, and I'm sick of seeing the moral grandstanding applied to my friends. And I'm getting to a point where I think the moral grandstanding doesn't lead to jack shit. It's worthless. Yeah. Since he's in the chat, Edgy, come back to YouTube.
Yeah, I agree.
Come back to YouTube. Make a new video. Come back to YouTube.
Make
a new channel if you have to.
There is something I'm genuinely sorry for. I know there are at least some people out there who wish I was still producing content, so I regret leaving as abruptly as I did. I could have, at the very least, made some kind of announcement video saying I was calling it quits or something like that. So, to anyone who misses me, I'm sorry. What I'm not disappointed in is the state of the anti-SJW community. The drama, the intrigue, the keeping up of appearances. I mean, there are so many things going on in the world, important things that actually affect the future, that are happening right now, that the political sphere on YouTube could be discussing, but isn't. So far, it's been admittedly entertaining shit-flinging between content creators with some of the same old low-hanging fruit sprinkled on top. I know from personal experience how annoying this kind of back-and-forth call-and-response bullshit can be. It was going on before I showed up, and it continued just fine without me. And in this year of 2017, it has taken on a particular flavor, a unique zest of pompous moral grandstanding and holier-than-thou attitude. But what unique perspective would some evil Nazi like me have? Well, shortly after Kraut publicly stated that he was having second thoughts about the way he attacked me, he and I had a friendly little chat over Skype.
I think you should really consider coming back.
You know, I've thought about it, and if I did, it would have to be in a teal deer kind of way where I don't do streams, I don't do autistic Twitter arguments, you know, I'm definitely done doing that. But
I'm done doing that as well.
It's just not
That's
worth
the
it.
thing. I had it's funny that you say that, because I had this conversation with Sargon just a short while ago. And we both concluded, yeah, it's not worth it. It's absolutely not fucking worth it anymore, because some people live for it, and I concluded that Spino's entire YouTube existence is fucking based on that, essentially. Nothing but that.
Yeah.
And if you dedicate your fucking channel to shit like that, it's not worth anything.
I really didn't want to have to do this, but the reason why I'm doing it is because Kraut said this.
You know what, that might be a good way of getting you back. Maybe I'll do a response video to it.
That obviously hasn't happened, and the first order of business here is the matter of why I left YouTube.
It wasn't until I had a conversation with Naked Ape like 2 weeks later, so that Naked Ape told me that you actually had intended to delete your channel, and I believe Naked Ape. Say about what you want, he's a very trustworthy person.
I remember seeing some tweet you made where you had heard that my channel was gone, and you were like, maybe he knows I'm coming for him. Like
that is legitimately what I thought. That is legitimately what I thought. I thought, yeah, you're scared. Stupid thing.
He has known for months almost as long as I've been gone, that I didn't leave because of him, but he's never publicly said so. And I'd like to take a moment here to highlight the fact that viewers of these channels really only know what they see on YouTube and social media. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes in these private chats and voice calls and private DM groups and things like that. And there's a lot more that I could show you if I felt it were relevant. Everyone has public and private positions, so to speak. Just something to keep in mind the next time you pick a side in some kind of disagreement between content creators. You don't know these people, and some of them are not what you think they are.
Go watch the 2 videos I made, the one on you and the one on AIU. The AIU video is, this is a horrible thing that AIU did, this is a horrible thing that AIU did, this is him endorsing this kind of behavior, here are the horrible things that his fans do. Whilst the video on you is, first off I call you a cuck, then instead of addressing any points you made, I go into your history, dig up some Reddit MAA.
Huh. Interesting.
Assert that you're a dishonest person, which to a certain degree a lot of people, including myself, I still have that inkling in that direction, believe. And then I go into tweets you made and bring up unrelated tweets and go into stuff that Forum says, which a lot of it is just completely unrelated and doesn't make much sense in that regard. It would have been better to go after things you've said.
Oh yeah, I remember that. He showed a comment from Thorium denying the Holocaust and then showed me asking Thorium a question in response. You see what I did there? I used skepticism. And then he went on a long tirade that was seemingly directed at me. Huh. But what about Kraut's motivation for doing this? Surely he had a good reason, right?
Well, the thing is, I probably wouldn't have condemned you if you didn't upload that video, which I honestly didn't even watch. I just thought to myself, yeah, if you can't even criticize me in person, there's no need for me to watch that video. I still haven't watched it.
I genuinely liked this other person's video. I enjoyed it, and I thought the person made some good points, and, you know, it's not unusual that people host each other's content, so that was my logic behind uploading that video instead of making one of my own, because people do that all the time.
Yeah, makes a bit sense looking back at it. I guess I just took it too personal in that regard.
Oh, so Kraut had never actually seen the video that made him mad, and just emotionally flew off the handle when his flying monkeys came to shriek at him about how someone attacked Daddy.
What is the plan on your behalf right now? Because I've got a shitload of people condemning me right now for suggesting that you should come back.
I understand why people don't like me. I do make an effort to be inflammatory. It was in the name and everything. But what about the dog whistling? Well, first of all, I promoted that AMA on my channel before the AMA was even held. An announcement video was made for the purposes of promotion, and it was on my channel for over a month before I shut down. At no point did I actually try to hide any of that. I wanted people to read it. I was promoting it for a reason, and I really don't think that Kraut could have made his video about me without having been exposed to this information, without seeing that for himself. It was all in plain sight in the exact same places he would have collected the other things that he was selectively displaying. In other words, I think it's reasonable for me to say that he was being deliberately dishonest here while accusing me of doing that myself. Secondly, the infiltration comment. In a way, I kind of subverted myself as much as I could be said to have subverted anyone else. You might say it's just a meme. Or maybe people's opinions change. When I started my channel, I didn't have the opinions that I had last fall when Kraut made his hit piece. And now I don't have the same opinions that I had last fall. But it should also be noted that the changes weren't as dramatic as people seem to think they are. One of the very first videos I ever made was a response to Francesca Ramsey about race. I had been using sources like American Renaissance, Jared Taylor's publication, from the very beginning of my channel. I mentioned over and over on stream after stream how I quite literally despise Muslims, and how I don't believe Islam belongs in Western countries, full stop. These are just a few examples, and disagree if you like, but I was pretty open to talk to subscribers and other YouTubers, and if you were interacting with me or watching my channel for any extended period of time, it's not my fault if you didn't notice stuff like that. Can we think of anyone else who uses extreme humor with inflammatory intentions, someone who might fairly be accused of packaging his views in a more palatable, normie-friendly way?
Let's look at all of the totalitarian right existences across history, right? Or you don't even need to look like Mario and Sulla which are two examples of the totalitarian left and right in Rome. But let's look at, the past 100 years. Let's bring it modern. Hitler didn't exist in a vacuum. Hitler didn't rise because the commies took power, and so we need to elect this interesting guy with a cool mustache. Hitler was a representative of an ideology that was able to capture a specific emotional tone in Germany at the time. That's why Hitler existed. You look anywhere else. Look at the fascists' rise in Italy with something similar. You look at the fascists' rise in Spain. They rose out of a fucking civil war and the collapse of the monarchy. It wasn't just out of nowhere. It wasn't just this pendulism metaphysically swinging. There is no argument right now that there is anything on the right that is actually to be afraid of. There's no ideology on the right. There's no personhood on the right. The only people on the right that I think, the Turner Diaries, right? Like, I can give you specifically, the Turner Diaries are the representation of basically what the left is becoming now. The Turner Diaries is a neo-Nazis' legitimate reaction to, and I mean that if you should read the Turner Diaries, it's a fascinating, I'm going to let the phone ring, but it's a fascinating book, right? It's basically points out how in the Turner Diaries, black people can do no wrong. They're basically used as a bullying pulpit in order to, cuck the white man, in order to keep white people in line, basically. They're used as a tool of an authoritarian government. And you look at Black Lives Matter, and you can think, well, actually, that makes a lot of fucking sense, doesn't it? And let me give you an example of how bad it is. Disparate impact theory is the theory that if there is any kind of different result for any law, anywhere, or any process that affects one minority group higher than white people, it must therefore be racism, and it should be changed. You know what affects black people more than white people? Murder laws. Because black people commit half of all murders in the United States. So if you were to apply that law, then black people would just be able to kill as much as they would fucking like. And I'm going to tell you, I read the Turner Diaries. That's the fucking Turner Diaries. I'm not even kidding you. That is literally a neo-Nazi fucking nightmare.
And that's the end of the movie. We get to watch these people of color endlessly denigrate white people and insinuate that all of the problems of 2016 were due to white men. This is what we fought the Civil War for. This is what we did civil rights for. This is what we killed Hitler for. So we could watch some art student graduate pieces of shit endlessly condescend to an entire race of people. Who is it that produces this stuff anyway? Well, the owner of MTV is Sumner Murray Redstone, who was born Sumner Murray Rothstein. I didn't want to be racist. I didn't want to hate black people. I didn't want to think that the Holocaust was a good thing. But unfortunately, I saw this MTV video and it made me racist. Links to my Twitter, Patreon, and Facebook are in the description, and I'll leave you with this short video from my new leader, Jared Taylor, as he responds to Black Lives Matter.
Well, I have only one thing to say to you people in the Black Lives Matter movement. I love you. Keep doing exactly what you're doing.
Okay, wait a minute. Fuck you, Edgy. You're taking all of these clips out of context to make your point. You half-white racist. All I have ever done is honestly represent the position of white nationalists when I argue against them and make mean jokes. And what? Now Kraut's supposed to disavow me, you dirty cuck?
For all of the autistic screeching, this is something that Spino actually had a point about. If Kraut disavowed me for making Nazi jokes and having some extreme opinions about things, then it would only make sense to expect him to disavow Naked Ape as well. Now, I'm not saying that Kraut should disavow Naked Ape, just some food for thought. It can be pretty foolish to dismiss someone out of hand just because you disagree with them on certain things, or you don't like an opinion of theirs. There are still actual communists and socialists that I talk to on Twitter sometimes. That doesn't mean they can't ever have a valid point about something, or that there's nothing we could possibly agree on. Take this as an example. Sargon loved a comment from a white nationalist saying that skeptics should give up on having an adherence to certain values. That commenter also goes by the name David Cedarwood, and we can see here that Sherrod is attempting to discount what he's saying on the basis that he's a white nationalist. But let's look at what the comment actually says. This, by the way, was from a stream about the skeptic feminist incident, and it reads as follows. Obviously, the outrage being talked about is petty and childish. However, there is something to be said here. Something I picked up listening to some people in this stream. Many in the RatSkep community love to pat themselves on the back for adherence to certain values, but then will insist they're under no behavioral expectations when called out for something. It would not kill any of you to change one of those, particularly the former since it's hubristic. He's not saying that they must give up certain values. He's saying that they should either adhere to those values or stop pretending to adhere to them. And that's the thing about hypocrisy. You can only be accused of being hypocritical if you claim to be above certain behavior and then engage in that behavior anyway. A lot of the online drama between this whole crowd of people could probably be attributed to failures of reading comprehension like this one, or refusal to properly understand the opposition's position by talking to them about it in favor of presuming to know them better than they do, presuming to know what they stand for instead of asking them what they stand for.
You know, having this conversation, it really just reminds me of what a pity it is that you're not there anymore.
Oh, and let's not forget about Sean and Jen, because this morally righteous British fuckboy has publicly stated that he would be all for killing Nazis given the opportunity, which naturally means that he'd be all for killing me given the opportunity. In the end, what was Crowd and T's reward for playing the good boy police and calling out the evil internet Nazis?
Sometimes you kinda look like a Nazi, you know, in certain lights. Now, I don't think that you are, but I wouldn't blame someone for coming to that conclusion depending on what they've seen of you on the internet. What if they've only seen you saying people who disagree with you should be burned in ovens, or gassed in concentration camps, or you spamming a bunch of racial slurs, or comparing followers of a religion to cockroaches who people have a duty to kill? You know, on top of the things you say, you're an easily angered German guy without a sense of humour. Now, that doesn't mean anything by itself, obviously, but it's not good for the optics of the thing.
I'm a good guy because I fucked the black chick once.